We are live, and welcome everybody. Until Lizette joins us, and hopefully she can join us today. I'll actually say to you, welcome from Tier 4 London. You may struggle to get a smile out of any of us today. Tier 4, I don't think any of us have really digested what Tier 4 is going to mean. For not just for our Christmas, but for the rest of at least the early part of 2021. So we are stuck, imprisoned into our homes, unfortunately, in London. And yesterday was really crazy because people fled London yesterday evening in droves because the deadline to get out of London was midnight last night, and somebody said it reminded them of the movie Tremors.
Wow.
The way people were moving out of London rapidly because we can't socialize, we can't do anything, can we, guys?
No.
I mean, technically, unless you're prepared to break the law, you pretty much are stuck where you're at. So, hold on, what is this? What is it? I've got a sign up here that I don't understand what it means.
Okay.
You appear to be live on YouTube as well.
We are live on YouTube. Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Where is it? What's the link? Is it just on the page?
It's on the page. I'll send it to the group.
Nice. Cool.
So
you know the worst thing is my auntie's been cooking rum cake all for the last month. Yeah, so I've got rum cake ready to collect, but I can't get it.
okay.
That's it. Yes, you just got Greeny House, no?
Are you allowed to meet people?
You can meet one person outside.
Okay.
So you can get a cake. Just somewhere to cake.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, you're allowed to, and you're also allowed as one person in a support bubble. They haven't taken away the support bubble, as long as you keep your support bubble consistent. But anyway, this is our last show for 2020. Oh my goodness! Oh, this is amazing. So this is amazing.
Hey.
Oh my goodness!
Lisbeth.
Welcome. So this is our last show for 2020. This was effectively our Christmas edition. I should put on my Christmas hat, shouldn't I?
Yes.
Doesn't work with the headphones, but our last show for 2020, and I have a full agenda. So let us not waste any time because today we are going to talk about Christmas in the Caribbean, and we're going to fantasize with some of us who are not there, which is all of us except Lizette, that we will have to fantasize about parang, which we'll talk about in a little minute, and all the various drinks that we can all make at home and wish we were in the Caribbean. And then we'll talk a little bit about what we would eat over the Christmas holidays. And then maybe even if we get some time and we kind of get through it all, we can talk a little bit about what parties we would go to across the Caribbean. So we have a lot on our plates, and I think it's one thing that I think all of us can agree is Christmas in the Caribbean is something to behold. And you know, we don't dream of a white Christmas. We dream of rum and sunshine. So those are the most important things, wouldn't you say, Lizette?
Yes, absolutely.
And you know, Christmas in the Caribbean is full of festivities, parties. I miss Christmas in the Caribbean. It is really such fun. But I'm gonna start.
My cousins in Canada, they would say there's no Christmas without snow, and I say there's no Christmas without shorts. This is that used to be my rebuttal, and I think I've spent better Christmases in warm places than in cold. But
yeah. But then that's because of our blood. So let's start talking. I'm gonna actually hand you over to Lizette and Mark, whichever one wants to start first. And because parang is very much an Eastern and Southern Caribbean, very much Trinidad and Grenada, and a particular part of Grenada. So who wants to kick off, Mark or Lizette?
Lizette, you want to go first? Because I know I didn't really know much. I didn't know that Grenada had such a similar tradition that we do. But I'll let you go first, and I could check in.
So the parang is a festivity in the Caribbean. Rather than everyone grouping in one house, everybody goes house to house. People spend the time visiting other people with what they call a parang band. And the parang band looks like a string band. Its roots originate in the Spanish or Venezuela, and then it's made its way through Trinidad down to Grenada. And they have these old folk bands. And also, actually, I've noticed they're now bringing out steel pans and other things. And they go around house to house singing, and people have to give them ham and black cake and sorrel to say thank you. So it's a very different tradition here. And of course, rum is in the sorrel. The sorrel will have quite a bit of rum in it. So it wouldn't just be neat sorrel or plain sorrel. And a lot of the time they're on a truck. They're on the back of a truck. I don't know what will happen this year for the parang festivities. But also our neighbor island or our sister island, Carriacou, are known for their huge parang festival. They actually have a parang festival where you can go and watch the parang bands. It's a bit like a very mild carnival, but not quite, because I guess it's not got the big trucks and so on, but there's a lot of festivities. Yeah.
After a few rums, it will become a heavy carnival, I'm sure.
and why, as you can see from the slide here, that it's Carriacou has the biggest of all festivals in than Grenada. Any particular reason why it's spread to Carriacou?
So Carriacou,
sorry. Yeah.
Okay. Carriacou and Petit Martinique, which is our part of our tri-islands, they have kept hold of the traditions in Grenada much more than mainland Grenada, because mainland Grenada has been influxed with foreign other cultures.
Right.
So because Carriacou doesn't really have an airport, it's got a small little strip for tiny planes. They have kept their traditions and their culture very insular. So parang, maroon festivals, and all of these things still happen in Carriacou where they don't happen on the mainland.
Right, and I've read also that there's the house to house about the house to house and the singing, but a lot of the songs are quite humorous about the year that's gone past. And they pick on particular subjects of the year. So I'm sure this year there'll be a COVID song.
So parang is not really about things happening in the news. It's more about things happening with people in the community. So calypso, or as they say calypso, is more about politics and things happening in the news. But parang is specific. It talks about all of the things, the nefarious and ungodly things that happen in the community. So when you're going through your year, you always keep in mind that you do not want your name to be called in a parang song. So, for example, if a man and his wife are having an argument, and maybe the wife throws him out the house, you will hear it in a parang song. So it's like
Lord.
Community news.
Only in the Caribbean, man.
Yeah.
That's how we love it. That's how we love it.
Yeah, and there's so many things, because there's things you forget about. Like there's things that happen maybe in February, and you think, oh, that was really controversial, but you know, and then it comes in the parang song in December, and you can't stop laughing because you think, I remember that. Yeah.
But it can cause trouble. I remember going to a Christmas party in London, it was a staff Christmas party for a particular nightclub venue bar, and they had a little competition, and one of the competitions was which bartender is more likely to go home with one of the female customers. And
see, that's a parang song.
And two of the guys that got nominated, their girlfriends were at the party.
Oh, wow.
And they were looking at them real hard, like, and oh god, it's just a joke. It's just a joke. It's not serious. So that's the sort of thing that you can see happening in Parang. And so, Mark, tell us a bit about Trinidad Parang.
Well, Trinidad is I think they've definitely kept hold of probably the more Spanish tradition with it. A lot of Parang is actually sung in Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
I found when I left Trinidad, that was very interesting for a lot of people that we would play Spanish music that was our Christmas music. It's evolved over the years. Obviously, there are some soca Parang songs, so there's that. But I think there are probably more traditional songs that have been sung over the years in Spanish. From memory, it's less topical stuff. I think a lot of that topical, conversational type Parang is left for carnival. So kaiso, soca music, those kind of things, you would find those things coming up in there. But what has happened, as with everything in Caribbean culture, you'd find that the soca Parang music can be a bit suggestive. So like I Want a Piece of Pork for My Christmas is quite a popular song. And pork has obviously, a piece of pork could be anything. It could be an actual piece of pork, or it could be something else.
Any kind of pork.
Any kind of pork. It could be anything. So, so things like that, I think, are where we've kind of not necessarily gone from a social commentary perspective. It is probably a bit differently organized in that, yes, there's a festival in a place in Trinidad called Parman that is quite popular, where there is, and there are others like it, but Parman is quite popular. People go there early. I've never been able to go since I left because it's always much earlier than I've ever been able to get back to Trinidad. But there are lots of festivals like that where people will go and listen to music, and there's wild meat. So they'd be eating bush meat.
Yes, lots of wild meat parties too.
You're right. So there'd be that attached to the festival. In some villages, I'm sure that people still go house to house in Parang. But maybe I grew up in a time that was a bit too suburban. There was a lot less house to house Parang, and more Parang would be played, and people would go to events and play. My dad played a bit of music with a small band. Other people would do things. You'd have Parang bands come to parties, and there's a national Parang competition and things like that. But I think Parang makes our Christmas different than other English speaking islands, because, like, I don't speak the language, but it almost feels it adds a bit of flavor, kind of a bit of, if you want to say, a bit of pizzazz to our Christmas in a way that always, it matches the food in terms of things like pastels and so on and so forth. That Spanish tradition exists and is a big part of making Trinidad Christmas, I think. Probably one of the more unique Christmases that you've experienced.
And could I just quickly ask somebody, if anybody who's listening, could they comment and let us know you're hearing us correctly? I'm having an issue at my end that my email keeps asking, my antivirus keeps jumping in, and I don't know if it's blocking me or anybody. So if you're hearing us loud and clear, can you somebody write a comment and say everything's okay? And how long does Parang last?
Well, probably right up until Christmas, because in Trinidad, Boxing Day is carnival basically. So, you don't really hear much Parang after Christmas. It is kind of Boxing Day is the kickoff of what would be the rest of the carnival season. I don't know.
And the fact that the songs are sang in Spanish. I mean, I can't imagine a lot of the English Caribbean having a lot of Spanish-speaking people.
Well,
there is though. There are
some in Trinidad, I think, more now, but again, that is also part of the tradition. There are some songs that are sung in English, yes, but a lot of the traditional Quran songs would be sung in Spanish. And I don't speak Spanish. A little, I can understand words here and there, but it just adds to the whole mystique. It kind of adds to the flavor, I think, and makes it quite a joyous experience in general.
Right. Apparently, there's a little bit of echo coming from somewhere. I think I can hear it as well. But and wouldn't Parang have started already, Lizette?
Yeah. So from about November, end of October, you start to hear the Parang songs in the supermarket. So that's when you know, and they're usually they have the commercial ones, which are Trinidadian artists, so like Baron and some of the others.
Yeah.
Right, and they will play these on loop, like literally Leroy, the piece of pork, like you hear the same songs and you're like, oh, it's Christmas time. So those songs start from November, and then we start having the Parang festivals, like in each of the parishes, where the local people, the local artists will go up and sing, and that will happen this week actually. So the last run up to Christmas, this week coming, there'll be lots of wild meat festivals and Parang concerts almost.
Okay. And
that sounds amazing, man. That sounds amazing.
It does. It sounds rather interesting. I'm sorry, I'm just topping up my soul with some rum.
Yeah, we all saw that. We saw that. We did not see it. We saw it.
I just thought that it needed to be done.
It's appropriate.
I need to be quite lucid today, so I just want to make sure. So,
and some money must overproof is what.
Correct.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to.
It just has to be done properly. So
yes.
I just want to make sure. So moving on, and maybe we'll touch back on Parang a little bit later on. But let's move into our drink section, because Rum Chronicles is very much about rum and it's very much about drinks. Now, particularly with this particular drink, Manny, you made this for us, didn't you? On a few shows ago, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I made
By the way, people, without interrupting you, it was amazing.
Yeah. Eggnog is the one. I love eggnog. The one I made for you was a slightly different recipe, because I didn't use condensed milk.
Yeah.
I made condensed milk from scratch, basically. Yeah.
All right. Well, this one doesn't have any condensed milk.
Well, it's evaporated milk.
Right.
Evaporated milk and sugar.
Yeah. This one has evaporated milk and sugar. So I just want everybody to know as well. I know it says Jamaica at the top, but if you read on, you'll notice I'm not making any claim that the eggnog belongs to Jamaica. I'm just saying here that in Jamaica we still drink eggnog as in terms of the very sort of traditional, the actual traditional recipe. And if you can read what it says, but I'll read it for you in red at the bottom. It is believed that eggnog began in Europe as early as the 13th century. Medieval monks in Britain were known to drink posset, a warm ale punch with eggs and figs. And they believe that's the birth of the eggnog. And obviously, the English would have probably brought eggnog, well, not just the English, but because we're going to have a look at a few recipes from some of the different islands, which include the Spanish as well, Spanish islands as well. So, but I mean, eggs would have probably been used for protein.
Probably, yeah. Probably, most probably.
Would there have been a danger back then, though, of things like salmonella with eggs going off and so forth?
Well, eggs back then would have been fresh, wouldn't they? Because they're not traveling anywhere.
Right.
Chickens.
And maybe they had a method of how to preserve it. I don't know.
Well, I mean, the way that I mean, I made punch creme, so you'll get to that recipe, I'm sure, at some point.
Yep, you will. Well, in fact, let's move on to punch creme now, because what I want people to see is actually how similar these recipes are in the islands, and that the variances. I mean, obviously, if I'm not mistaken as well, when we had an eggnog recipe that actually had port wine in it as well, didn't we?
Yes, I remember that recipe. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but you can. This is one punch of creme recipe. Obviously, Mark, you can talk more about it and tell me how you would adjust it, or if it's fairly close.
Before you say what you gotta say, Mark, I got Nigel Mark saying Ponche Cuba to the world.
Ponche Cuba. Yeah, Ponche Cuba is a bottled punch drink, basically like a punch of creme that I've seen in. The first time I came across it was when I was living in the Virgin Islands. It was quite popular with the people from the Dom Rep, and people in the VI drank that a lot.
Okay.
I've never seen it before. At home, we would make punch of creme. I can't, obviously, I left Trinidad when I was 19. So I didn't drink a lot of it before I left home, to be honest. And even when I did go back home on holiday, I didn't drink loads of it. But I do like it, though.
But this particular one that's on the picture, is that Trinidadian traditional one, though?
Yeah, it pretty much has all the things that you would have. And it basically is exactly the same as this. So I made this 2 days ago. And I basically, the way I did mine that was different because I like to make it, I guess you see your mother do something, or you see people around you do something, you want to make it that way. I make it so that it gets thicker and it can stay for much longer. So I basically combine all the ingredients, beside the rum, and put it in a stainless steel pan, in a bowl, and steep and warm, and basically boil it over the stove for a period of time. So what that does is it thickens. As it thickens, the eggs kind of partially cook in there, and once you get that, now this punch of creme, I'll pause because we're talking about it. I should kind of drink some, I suppose.
Yeah. do you put the lime zest in there?
Sorry.
What? You put lime zest in yours?
There is lime zest in there, yes. Okay. I put lime. So you'll see that, as you see here, it is very thick, right? It's supposed to go with ice. And the idea with this is you put your ice in there, ideally with loose ice, not big blocks. And that crushed ice helps to dilute. And then you get a really nice, cold, creamy drink. And I would, now as in this version, I think I would top it with some fresh nutmeg. And yeah, to me, it again is one of those things that this punch of creme would probably have been, this again would be different from what we would have done at home. Because I used a blend of pretty much every cane spirit that was possible to make this. So it has Cross, Rare Nephew, Cross Ray, some Biel from Marigala,
Right.
Oh, that must be fiery.
That sounds good, boy.
There's a bit of Angostura 7 in it. So I basically try to blend, and then I put a bit of Diplomatico Reserve Exclusiva on the end of it. So it's a really nice round rummy flavor. So you get a bit of everything. You get some of the Jamaican, you get some of the French, you get some of the Melanicity Trini rum coming through, and you get some of that sweetness from the aged Spanish. So
damn UT4, I will come there now.
Well,
damn UT4.
The point was initially I wanted to make things so that we could, if we were going to get together, we would have had homemade drinks that we could have all shared. But sadly, Tier 4 kind of had different plans. So I'm going to drink this and anything else I'm making on my own, sadly. Sorry.
Well, enjoy. We have another one here. Enjoy, Mark.
So we have a creamus from Haiti. A Haiti creamus can be spelt with a C. Very traditional at Christmas in Haiti as well, and as you can see, here served on crushed ice. So it's fine. It's interesting that they've served it in a coupe. I mean, I'm sure that's probably not normally how it will be drank in Haiti. Maybe that was just for the photographer. And I think what we've seen here that's different is almond extract, a bit of star anise, and coconut cream, which we didn't see in any of the previous recipes.
And lime juice as well.
Well, they had a bit of lime in the poncha creme.
Yeah, that was lime zest.
That's lime zest.
Right. This has got lime zest. Yeah.
It's got zest and juice.
Yeah, interesting.
And you might find a number of recipes that you find, but obviously Babancourt being the spirit of Haiti, it's actually the rum of Haiti, not the spirit of Haiti, the rum of Haiti. And I know actually that one thing that Haiti has, unlike a lot of other Caribbean islands, is that Haiti has the tradition for drinking aged rum, aged Babancourt, right? So white rum is considered sort of like the bush rum. Unlike other Caribbean islands, the English Caribbean think white is better than aged. In Haiti, it's the other way around. The aged is a quality rum, and the white rum is a lesser rum.
I kind of making a random joke in my head here and saying that maybe as Haiti was the first island to free itself, perhaps they're far advanced in their
Well, yes, maybe that is so true as well. And I mean, adding some all these different spices just makes it very interesting. And I mean, star anise. I mean, you'd expect to see the likes of your nutmeg, your vanilla, and your cinnamons, but almond extract and star anise. I mean, Manny, would you say that that's
well? If you think of it this way, almond comes up quite a lot in cocktails. Orgeat is basically just an almond syrup, isn't it? So those flavor profiles are going to work. I guess it's just a bit unique for the Caribbean to use almond in that way.
Right.
It sounds great. I would love to try something with coconut cream and condensed milk.
Well, we're going to have, I think there's a few more that are coming along the way. So we may find a few more in the equation. But here's Cuba's version. So also very similar to some of the ones we've seen previously. Sugar, water, eggs, condensed milk, evaporated milk. Crema de vie, for somebody who can probably correct my Spanish. And I'm no doubt in
Crema.
Cuba.
You ever say
crema
de vie.
Crema.
Yeah, you have to get that Spanish in it. Get the Latin in you.
And we'll be getting to your country a bit later on. Don't you worry. And 1 to 2 cups of white rum. So I probably figure that at this point that it's more popular with Havana Club 3. Maybe in Cuba they would use other, because there's many other good rums, white rums out of Cuba as well. So that's quite interesting. And the one that is also quite fascinating, and I know Kelvin had something to say about this one. What's different about the Puerto Rican one?
This one, they have no egg. They don't use eggs.
Wow.
It's coquito. And when I discovered this one, I found it very interesting. So that's the only one that I know. Maybe there are others. Obviously, there's eggnogs and stuff that you make in general that you won't, if somebody doesn't want egg. You tell them hold the eggs. But traditionally, the Puerto Rican one is with no eggs. Interesting. Yeah. And obviously, they'll use the Don Q Cristal.
Yeah. And so they should. I mean, Don Q makes some. I must say, it's for somebody who, for a Latino style rum, I think Don Q is probably one of my favorites.
I had a comment from Ruben J.
Yeah, I know.
Verasimi, sorry if I pronounced it incorrectly.
He said it's unrelated.
Versami. My apologies, Versami. He says unrelated. True. You know, when you Google it and type it up, and you do your research in different similar drinks, coquito comes up.
And he said it's less than 100 years old.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Young buck.
Young pretender. So, and the eggnog is something. Lisette, I was unable to find a recipe for Grenada. I mean, do you not drink eggnog?
We have punch cream.
So you drink what? You copy the Trinidadians. You did not come to Jamaica and listen, did you?
Sorry. Let me get clear. Maybe the Trinidadians copied us.
I would never. I don't make those kind of statements. It's only
Those are
Jamaicans.
fighting talks there. That's jab talks.
People like to when you get to the sorrel, Roger, you know.
Well, that's why I brought it up relevant at this point in time, because I know yourself and Lizette are gonna have got your boxing gloves ready for me today.
Well, I have, not only do I have my boxing gloves, I have my sorrel here.
Yeah, so I have mine here already in the glass. Thank you very much. And I have proper sorrel. But anyway, so sorrel is something that we should say is widely consumed across the Caribbean. It's now consumed all year round, all over the world too. But it's now consumed all year round. It was traditionally a Christmas drink. It was always red. I now know in Jamaica we now make what we call white sorrel, because there's a sorrel plant that doesn't bear a red petal, and we make a drink out of the white sorrel as well. But I will say, just so that those who have their boxing gloves on ready, there is no right or wrong way to make a sorrel, right? There are preferences for islands, and in fact, I had a little bit of history on there too. Actually, I think it's on. I put it at the bottom of the Trinidad sorrel, just to give you guys a little bit of respect, and I'll read it out for the guys who can't read. Can't read it. For those of you who can't read the red, but I'll read it out for you. Roselle juice, known as Bissap, Wonjo, Debeleni, Sobo, Zobo, or Sabala in parts of Africa, sold in the Caribbean, and Agua de Jamaica in Mexico, is a drink made out of the flowers of the Roselle plant, a variety of hibiscus. Although generally the juice is sweetened and chilled, it is technically an infusion, and when served hot can also be referred to as hibiscus tea. So, Mark, as Lizette is not here, talk us a bit about sorrel. I've got a recipe here. You can pick it apart, but I just picked one. It actually has some bay leaves in it. Would you add bay leaves?
Sorrel is my sorrel, or the way that I make it, because I make a lot of sorrel. Sorrel was the first syrup that I made to kind of showcase the Caribbean when I started doing events with Rumbling, like bars. And it caused the invention of the rum love and ting and so many other drinks that I didn't know that you could use sorrel to kind of replace creme de cassis and those things. So sorrel is a very important flavor from my personal kind of bar journey and the journey of trying to promote Caribbean flavor to the UK. The recipe as it exists there, the reason I say that is the recipe doesn't exist there. I tend to use the dried spices that I have available. So I will use nutmeg, I will use cinnamon. I don't use as much clove as I probably would have when I first started making sorrel, because I found over time that clove can be a very drying spice on your palate. So I tend to use sometimes a little bit, sometimes none, depending on how I feel. But I also picking up and paying homage to other parts of the Caribbean where you are from, Roger. I started using allspice because I found I could get some of the clove-esque flavors without the dryness in the same way. I would use a bit of allspice, and I do use bay leaf sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes. And it can be in there because the thing that sorrel, the way that this infusion works as sorrel is that everybody's sorrel will taste different. at homes, because people have, again, their own different little tweaks in terms of what spice, how much of what spices they use or not. But also, the sorrel is kind of that forever flavor giver, because the more spice you use, the more things that you taste as the flavor goes through in a drink on its own with water and ice, or the way I make it now as a syrup and then I add it to drinks. It basically, it can take you on so many different journeys that I try to put, a nice mix of spice in there.
And Lizette, recipe-wise, when you make sorrel?
First of all, I would always make sure that before you put the sorrel plant in it, I put all the spices first to let it macerate in the water. And then I add the sorrel. But bay leaf in Grenada is an absolute must. The West Indian bay leaf, we call it boden here, is different. It's spelled bois, P-O-I-S, boden. Bois d'Inde, I think it's West Indian bay leaf, yeah. It tastes completely different from the bay leaf in the UK and in Europe. So it adds that spiciness. It's got a bit of spiciness in it, and definitely cloves and cinnamon. Some people put star anise and other things, but you can put whatever spice you want. But those three that you have there are the most important. And then if you want your sorrel to taste more like cranberry juice, you would use the dry sorrel. But if you want it to taste more deep and velvety, kind of, you would use the fresh sorrel, because the flavors are different. The dry sorrel is much more tonic. Yeah.
But obviously here in the UK we can't get that. So
interesting.
So sadly, I think I've made fresh sorrel with sorrel at home, but never been able to do it outside. And also, what people would do, I don't know if anybody else would do this, but my mom and some people in my family would, Christmas time, we would dry sorrel and keep it. So you could have sorrel at another time in the year if you wanted.
But,
and
okay,
also give your family to travel.
And now let's compare the Jamaican sorrel. I just want our viewers to note, if you look at the picture of the Trinidadian sorrel, and then you move on, and now we look at
let me guess, Roger, you want to find some elaborate photograph.
And now you look at the Jamaican sorrel. It's got more depth. It's richer. You can see the difference. You can see which one you want to drink straight away.
You can feel the same picture. Nobody knows the difference in it. When you look at sorrel, you don't know the difference.
And if you notice as well, you can see when you look at the Trinidadian sorrel, you see there's like 3 or 4 ingredients. Now here's a proper drink. Right? Right, you can see that we've thought about it, and but no, let's be honest. The major difference is that we use the same ingredients. The debate that Mark and I always have, and Lizette's joined in recently. I don't know why, but is that the fundamental difference is that Jamaica uses ginger. One of the spices that Jamaica always adds is ginger, whereas you'll find in the Eastern Caribbean and Trinidad, they will, apparently Mark says they don't use ginger.
It's a separate drink. And we have sorrel and ginger ale. So
okay, and you keep, and you know, I like how you defend Mark, but it's okay, but they're different, as you said, they're different. But then again,
it's very different.
But then again, you know, I like to sort of pay homage to my fellow Caribbean people. Sometimes I do a little bit of research, and you kind of look up things, and then you find something I call Trinis in Who Know. SimplyTriniCooking.com says 4 tablespoons of grated ginger is an optional substitute.
An optional
and real
optional.
And real Caribbean foods called the perfect Trinidad sorrel has 1 small ginger slice.
I'm sorry, Roger.
So you need to talk to your brethren. Right?
I wonder how much she spent for that.
You need to talk to your brethren and find out why they're telling lies on you.
Roger, nobody can put things on the internet. All I'm saying to you, the sorrel that I'm aware of the sorrel Lizette is talking about, and the vast majority of other parts of the Caribbean feature as a flavor in the sorrel. That's it. That's it.
But all I have to say to everybody, sorrel, and I think Lizette kind of covered it in terms of the flavor profile, in terms of the sorrel leaves that you use and how it can change the flavor of the drink. You go to the Caribbean, particularly at Christmas, but any time of the year, because we now make sorrel all year round. Sadly, you'll only get one with fresh sorrel during the Christmas season. The rest of the year, obviously, is dried in order for us to store it. But please come to the Caribbean and enjoy your sorrel, because
one little question though. I mean, it just popped into my head. When you said they drink sorrel all year round, at what point did that happen? I mean, because sorrel, as far as I always know, it's always been a Christmassy kind of.
It's a seasonal fruit that comes up.
Yeah.
You get fresh sorrel Christmas time. I think
I think it's technology. I think the fact that every ingredient now, we have the option to find a way to preserve that ingredient. So by whatever means necessary, you can preserve, you can tin it, you can vacuum pack it, you can dry it. So it enables that agreement, that particular ingredient, not only for local use, primarily not. It's for probably export, so that you can then export your product and get sales constantly through the year.
Makes sense.
Okay. We have a syrup. So now they're harvesting it, they're boiling it, and they're making it into a condensed syrup with sugar to preserve it. And that bottle is exported. So it's like Ribena, it's like a cordial, you know?
Right. Yeah, another one. Okay.
And actually, if you think about it, rum was made two ways normally, with glasses or sugarcane juice. And then somebody came up with the idea that because sugarcane juice can only be used when it's fresh, why don't we use sugarcane syrup? Because then we can use it all year round.
Well,
and that's why sugarcane syrup was developed.
Just evolve the evolution of how we do things and technology.
I mean, it's like, for me, I would have never thought of making a syrup with sorrel, because I didn't think of that as a thing growing up. You just have sorrel when you have it. When I started doing events here, and you want to make sorrel, I made a syrup with it. And then what I started doing was just having it as something to drink. So I would have sorrel as a syrup in the fridge and just add some water, and you could have sorrel anytime. So similar fashion is just convenience. And I think making sorrel as a syrup actually does make it, it's fantastic. Like, I mean, because I make it all year. I drink sorrel all the time. It's great.
So, Kelvin, you're on stage. We're in the French Guiana now for your version of the Pont Coco.
Right.
Apologies, I didn't use your picture, but it couldn't fit on my slide. So I hope you're happy with the picture that I've found instead.
The picture is amazing. Firstly, this is actually a more traditional Martinique
style. Okay.
Martinique, so it wouldn't be French Guiana.
Right.
Just want to let people who was viewing know that. It's more of Martinique. They do it in Guadeloupe as well, but it's much more Martinique thing. And it's it's a very, 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 very traditional drink for Christmas. And people go mad over this. They make it like crazy, and you actually get the coconut. You make sure you have if you intend to do this, make sure you have good machete skills. Because you don't want to mash up your hand or lose your hand. You chop the coconut, open it up, take out the coconut white, and then you grate it. And then when you grate it, you actually squeeze out the milk, so that is just, you get that freshness from it.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so you squeeze that out, and then you add the condensed milk, you add the spices, the cinnamon, the nutmeg, and then you cook it over a low heat. So you don't let it boil, otherwise you're just going to damage the whole thing. If it comes to a boil, you're going to burn all the spices. You're going to dilute the coconut, the squeezed milk that you squeeze from the coconut, and then you add the rum, which is obviously agricole rum. You can add any rum in there as well, but obviously this is the French Caribbean. It's agricole rum. You can do a switch of both. You can add either the dark rum, an aged rum, or a white agricole rum. And it's actually quite tasty. And it's just from the just same thing as the ponche crema. You can add the lime zests for flavorings. Some people don't really like the lime zest. It gives it a very strong kind of citrus flavor. But you know, then again, if you somebody that like the citrusness in drinks or alcohols, or I mean cocktails, sorry, it works well with the coconut, the spices that's in there, and the little zestiness. Beautiful, beautiful drink.
Right, and maybe this also is a category where we possibly could have put that coquito in, instead of the eggnog category. And just so that I found similarly, which was a Guadeloupe punch cocoa, which was a little not so dissimilar. So you have your coconut milk, your condensed milk. You obviously the rum's been macerated with the spices instead of, as in your case, it was cooked. And then this way you could macerate the spices in the rum, and then you could obviously mix this without having to cook it in advance, as long as you make sure you prepare the rum in advance and get this all prepared, and then you add your spices, your nutmeg and so on. Manny, there is a downside to macerating spices in alcohol, isn't there?
Well, you're going to extract a lot of flavor if you macerate the spices, so it can be quite overpowering.
Right.
Yeah. What downside were you thinking of?
No. That's what the point is, that because of the strength of the alcohol, it's very different, isn't it? So that it really
depends. Yeah, it depends on the ABV, because the higher ABV, the more you're going to strip from those spices.
Right.
But the other thing is, though, if you're cooking the rum, you're also going to lose some of the the punch as well. So
right.
And another thing I'd like to add as well is, I mean, obviously, if you're not in the Caribbean and you want to try this drink, you can easily get the canned coconut milk as well. I mean, only because we have our theme of the show is Caribbean. You know, the Caribbean is in my head, the sunshine. So obviously, I'll go straight for machete and coconut to cut.
Yeah,
that's what we do. But yeah, you can get your canned, like Coco Lopez is one of them that you can get, or any other coconut milk, and you can make this drink at home easily.
And so that people, just in case people are a little bit unclear, the difference between coconut milk and coconut water, and I think you kind of covered it in your example, is that the coconut water is the water that's within that lives within that coconut shell, and that you drink that. The coconut milk is what you extract from the white flesh of the coconut.
Yeah.
And I remember as a child having to do that when we used to make rundown, which is the Jamaican equivalent to oil down. We used to have to extract the milk, so with great coconut, and I love the taste of fresh coconut. So my mom used to get me in to help her grate it, and then we'd have to squeeze it to get the milk out. And I used to eat the coconut while I'm grating it, and so I'd get a slap every so often.
So what's in rundown?
It's basically a typical Jamaican dish, which is usually mackerel. And what you do is you take the coconut milk and you cook it down, right? Okay. Hence the name rundown. And you cook it down, and as you cook the coconut milk down, it thickens, and then it's normally made with mackerel, and then you'd add your provisions, right? And obviously you season it and so forth. So very traditional, very traditional. So let's move on to a few island drinks. Kelvin, I think you gave us this one.
Yeah, that's another one in the French Caribbean regions. Very, very, very traditional. Again, easy to make, very popular. There's various ways of making it in terms of your access of ingredients. You can either get fresh peanuts, the fresh peanuts itself, unsalted. You can create a paste from them by grinding it down in like a blender, or just beating it down into a paste. Add that in there. You can, for an extra peanut buttery oomph, you can actually put some more peanut butter, but that's like the actual peanut butter that you buy from the supermarket in a packet. You add that in there, and then you add the spices. Again, they like doing the best of both. So they take the aged rum and the dark rum, whichever one that's the preference. You know, that always gives you that extra edge in terms of what kind of flavor profile you're looking for in this particular drink. And then you put the cane syrup, and then you actually mix it together nicely, and then you sift it out in a sifter.
Yeah.
You know, all those spices are really, you want to get the drink as smooth as possible without any.
Is it blended?
You can blend it. You can blend it as well. You can blend it as well. You can blend it, or as well, you can also cook it as well. They also cook it on a low heat just to melt the peanut paste and the actual peanut butter and get all those flavors in there. So you blend it, or you can. Well, you have to cook it down. So that's how you get all the as I said, the peanut butter to melt and all the flavors to ooze out on together. Then you let it cool, and then you sift it down in a sifter in a bottle, and you bottle it.
And we drink in Jamaica. We drink a lot of peanut punch, and more commonly nowadays we buy it in a box, like how you get a box of Ibina, and also very very popular using it as a chaser for white rum. And quite interesting. So, and moving on, I have a little bit of history here. Who fancies? I mean, I found a little bit of history here from Mr. Charles Dickens.
Oh, wow.
So, Mr. Charles Dickens had what was known as the created in 1847 a Christmas punch.
Wow.
And it was very popular. 3/4 cup of demerara with sugar, 3 lemons, 2 cups of Jamaican pot still rum, 1 1/4 cups of cognac, and 5 cups of black tea. And I love how it's written it's written in Old English. When you sort of think that it says, in the basin of an enameled cast iron pot or heat-proof bowl, add sugar and the peels of 3 lemons. Rub lemons and sugar together to release citrus oil. For more greater infusion, let sit for 30 minutes. And that would be that's an oleo they created there. Is that right?
A fast oleo, and
right.
Then heat is going to help.
Add rum and cognac to the sugar and citrus. Light a match, and using a heat-proof spoon, pick up a spoonful of the spirit mix. Carefully bring the match to the spoon to light. Carefully bring the lit spoon to the spirits in the bowl. Let the spirits burn for about 3 minutes. The fire will melt the sugar and extract the oil from lemon peels. And what they're doing there, they're fast processing the oleo, aren't they? They're rather than letting it sit. Right?
That is interesting. I've never heard of that technique.
I do a cheat oleo myself, where I peel lemons and put them into sugar syrup and boil it a bit to get the lemon flavor into sugar syrup and then add spices to it. But that's very interesting. I like that.
Ruben says it seems like a waste of liquor.
It's true. It is a waste of liquor. For 3 minutes is a long time.
Extinguish the bowl by covering it with a heat-proof pan or tray. Skim off the lemon peels. Having them too long in may impart a bitter flavor. Squeeze in the juice of the 3 peeled lemons and add hot tea, or if you haven't got hot tea, water. If serving cold, cool the punch in the refrigerator, and when cooled, add ice. Garnish with citrus wheel and a grated nutmeg. And in fact, in the novel of Christmas at the Cross Keys, the Christmas punch included port and is not flamed.
Well, I'll be honest with you, this sounds amazing.
It does sound good.
That sounds like a lot of hard work. Just give me a tea punch, mate. Give me a tea punch and I'm good.
I was going to say, Roger, I hadn't seen you put a rum punch as a Christmas drink, but I don't know about Grenada. I've not been there for Christmas, but that's one of the drinks that you would, as a must-have drink for a lot of people at home. You have a rum punch is a drink that people would make, as well as sorrel or punch of creme or ginger beer or whatever else. You'd have rum punch along as part of your Christmas drink offering, you know?
Yeah, so and in fact, traditionally across the Caribbean, I can't, obviously, I know rum punch is quite a popular punch that you'd make a punch in the morning whilst Christmas dinner and everything else is being prepared. you'd make breakfast, and then people would drink a drop of punch to keep their day nice and merry. I'm sure the Grenadans are no different.
Here in the morning, you will have your salt ham, your bread, your salt fish, and your cocoa tea. And you can add rum to the cocoa tea. Lots of people add rum to their cocoa tea.
Of course.
And our Christmas breakfast in Grenada is very big. You go big or you go home.
Okay, so let's move on. So another one from you, Kelvin, that you supplied, which is the shrub.
Yeah, the shrub. Again, it's not the French Guyana tradition, Martinique.
Yeah.
It's very, 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 very popular over there.
What I found interesting with this one is that it has instant coffee in it.
Yes, they put instant coffee in it. I mean, there's various ways of making shrub. Everybody have their ways, their styles of adding spices for their particular taste and whatever flavor profile they're going for. But half a teaspoon of instant coffee, it gives it that like little kind of that coffeeness mixed with the orange. Orange and coffee always kind of like goes hand in hand in various particular different drinks. Very popular over the Christmas because during that period of time, the harvest of oranges is very, very, very big. So oranges are very, very harvested in that period of time. Some people make them like weeks or maybe sometimes the year before to let it sit and macerate and let it get all those flavors. So when come time to crack that bottle open, all those flavors you're reading there, which some people, as I said, have different spices, gets married together in a way that's amazing.
How do you drink it though? So you drink it neat?
You drink it's drink with ice. So just how that picture is with ice. If you can be creative like yourself, Manny, which is the Jedi cocktail extraordinaire. Right? You can whip up some a nice cocktail club, nice drink, but it's drink traditionally like that with ice. For some people who don't really like sweet drinks, maybe they might not really like it, but it's very sweet, but yet very nice, and you feel that nice agricole rum coming through.
And traditionally, the French Caribbean do drink a lot of shrub, and I took this recipe, which is also done in Martinique, which was just the whole concept of a shrub. Unlike, we've got to be careful of the cocktail shrub.
Yeah, it's different.
Probably created out of the US, which is a vinegar-based shrub. But it's just basically, fundamentally, the maceration of fruit into rum agricole. And this is what, you get different ones. Orange is quite common. Most of the commercial shrubs you buy will be orange flavored. Clementines could be used, and particularly clementines are very much a Christmas fruit as well. And it's an easy thing to do at home. And you can create your own shrubs at home and enjoy your own shrubs at home. And while we're on the subject of Martinique, moving away, something for the ladies, moving away from
lovely.
Moving away more towards the side of bubbly than the side of rum. In Martinique, they take a little bit of shrub and they fill it up with champagne.
Good.
And it's very traditional at Christmas in Martinique.
Now that will taste exceptionally great because the orange is mixed with the champagne, the bubbly, beautiful.
And in fact, another recipe that I know of in the Caribbean, which is also very similar to a Kir Royale, is using soul instead. So you use your sweetened soul as your sweetener and top it up, and you basically have a Bellini, just using soul instead of a Kir Royale.
We do one, we call it a Caribbean Royale. It's basically Prosecco with sorrel liqueur or sorrel syrup in it. Same. It is very popular with women here. Very popular.
in here. Is that those two? Would that be your go-to drink for Christmas?
Well,
Me?
Yeah, you. Would that be your go-to drink?
Me? Yeah, in the evening, absolutely.
Okay, lovely.
Yeah.
Lovely.
In the shrub, but I have shrubs, but I drink the shrub neat with my dessert. Like at that time, I'll have the shrub with my dessert.
Lovely.
And I mean, let's not be honest. We're not a sexist station here. And then my brother in particular, my younger brother, dearly departed some time ago, but he was a great lover of champagne. I mean, he loved his champagne. So Christmas time, he would always make sure he's got a case of champagne ordered so that we could have champagne. And we were both lovers of Guinness. So I obviously used to make my version of what, Manny?
Black Velvet, yeah.
Yeah. And my version is a twist. What do you think, Manny?
This is your version.
This is what I used to make. I'm sure
I have never tried that before in my life.
I'm sure I've copied it from somebody, but I mean, I've Googled it and got ideas. But
I've never had it like that.
But it was just really adding that sort of orange and that sort of. But a black velvet is fundamentally equal parts of stout and champagne.
It is amazing, though.
So it's just Guinness, pour a little Guinness and champagne. That's it. Boom. Nothing else. That's interesting. I'll try that.
And,
it is great. Yeah.
It is a great drink, and we are just one of the reasons people understand is that the Caribbean are very large consumers of Guinness, extremely large consumers of Guinness. This is just some way. And actually, I found an interesting stat on the Guinness website is that the story is that that Guinness Extra Stout and Champagne were first combined to mark Prince Albert's death in 1861, when the steward at the Brooks Club, one of the famous gentlemen's clubs in London, ordered that even the champagne should be in mourning.
That's a great story, isn't it?
Dressed all in black.
Wow.
That is interesting.
All right, and I took that off the Guinness website. So
that's a great story.
Yeah. So let's move on. Being conscious of time, and I am going to give you guys and for you to comment an array of things that we eat in the Caribbean. Right, some of them I didn't even know about. Right, and I am going to go through them in order, and whatever I've missed, I'm sure pretty much Mark and the rest of you will pull me up for not including it. But I have never had this in my life, and it's called a Barbados jug.
Yeah. Jug is pigeon. It's basically it's like mashed pigeon peas. I've had it in Barbados for Christmas time, and it is very nice. It's pigeon. It's basically cooked down and mashed with all this other stuff in it. Delicious.
So
very
tasty. It's a dish made of pigeon peas, pork, stewed or salted beef, onions, Guinea corn flour, and spices. And it's usually served at Christmas time, and its origins relate back to the haggis.
Without the intestine.
Didn't know that. Everybody knows this.
Yeah, interesting.
Black cake. Everybody has a black cake. Or better known as the Caribbean fruit cake. And let me tell you something, guys. There's one in front of you, a proper Caribbean fruit cake in the Caribbean. You know whether it's going to taste good or not when you find out whether the chef, whether that be your aunt, normally in the old days it would be your grandmother, your auntie, your mother, or something like that, started it 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Right?
Right? 1 year before.
Yeah, because grandma used to make that, and that was banging. That cake my grandma used to make gets me drunk.
And you could get drunk on a cake. You could get drunk on cake.
Ruben's eating black cake now.
St. Vincent, and this one I've never come across. This one, breadfruit pie.
Yeah, we eat that here.
I've never tried it, but I've seen that one.
Right, and I must try that because I love breadfruit. And apparently, it said that breadfruit is extremely popular. It's a national dish of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, which are your neighbours, Lizette.
Yeah.
I mean, breadfruit is served all over, but I mean, this is made as a concoction of breadfruit, cheese, milk, flour, butter, and breadcrumbs.
Yeah, so we do the breadfruit pie, and then we also do breadfruit balls, where you make that exactly like that, and then you roll it in the breadcrumbs, and then you can fry it. And yeah, so it's like little croquettes or something.
Right, and the one dish that I think is mandatory at every Caribbean Christmas table is a ham.
No, I think you need to take that picture off immediately.
Mandatory. And what makes a Caribbean Christmas ham different, and I remember is, and I don't know whether we got this from the English or whether it's our twist on it, but I remember having to sit there and having to poke this ham with cloves and then getting the pineapple attached to the ham and in order to finish it off after it's been glazed, because it's been already pre-cooked to a certain level, and now the flavoring comes in at a later stage. So I'm sorry, but Christmas ham is I'm sorry, Kelvin, but a Christmas ham in the Caribbean is compulsory.
Sorry for
you guys, the pig, man, the pig.
Mine is, I was literally making one as we spoke, so it is.
You're early, boy.
Very early.
And it's quite interesting because I still might do it because I have a Jamaican butcher's down the road from me, and then when you buy the ham is corned, so it's basically a black salted ham, right? So you buy it and it's already salted. So you need to. So when you get that ham, you have to soak it, right? So you can get the salt out. But unbelievably fully flavored.
Yeah, well, the way my grandmother used to boil it, she used to boil it. And
so it did happen in your house.
Of course. Back in the days, I used to love eating that.
Good. So you know how good it tastes.
And then she used to put that honey glaze with exactly the way the picture is, with the pineapple. Bang it.
And this one is just for you as well, so that you could see the whole of the hog. Right? So Cuba are renowned for their roast pig at Christmas. And they will roast an entire pig during the Christmas time. And it's very traditional for the Cubans. And I think they serve it with black beans and rice, which is also quite typical in their culture. But and if somebody corrects me, don't Cubans cook their pigs quite differently, don't they? Some of them will cook it in like a cage or something. They'll box it up and cook it. If there's anybody out there that can remind me that how the Cubans have their special ways of cooking a whole roast pig. I know that obviously sometimes they cook it over a spit, but I've seen people have shown methods of it's boxed up, maybe put into the ground on the fire, and it's left to sort of smoke within the container. But a very traditional Christmas dish. Do you drink this? Do you eat this at Christmas? I wasn't sure, Lizette.
Yeah, well, oil down is eaten all throughout the year, so it's not unusual, but not on Christmas Day. Christmas Day is salt ham, and but just in the Christmas time, absolutely. Bread is very plentiful at this time of year, so people will be making oil downs in the wild meat events, and just throughout the time, oil down is our national dish, so we will cook it. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. So this one's another interesting one. So it's another typical one for Guadeloupe: yam, pigeon peas, and spicy pork stew. I got so excited about this.
Oh, he's made it.
He's made it, isn't he?
The Joker. Yeah.
I'm hungry as well.
So the pork is cooked. As soon as I'm finished, the yam and the pigeon peas go on the fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So that's you. So you cook that, right? Yam, pigeon peas, spicy pork stew.
Oh, I never even heard of that one.
I don't know
So
it.
that was that. I tell you, I'm not lying to you. I did have a taste of it for lunch, and oh my god. And particularly a technique that I don't use a lot, but it just reminded me of it, is that in order to brown the meat, you brown it in caramelized sugar.
Yeah, we do that. That's the only way we should.
That's the only way you see me.
And it is so, and I use a nice dark muscovado sugar to brown it, and it just gives the meat that lovely sweetness.
Yeah.
Right before you add your spices, not your spices, before you add your marinade to the pot to finish boiling it down until it comes right down to a lovely stew. But that's I've just got to do the yam and the yams there and the pigeon peas, the gungo, as we would say in Jamaica, gungo peas, as we here see.
Gungo pea soup, okay.
Right, and so gungo peas, as people, as mentioned earlier, which are known in Europe as pigeon peas, is very much it's a seasonal pea, and it's particularly seasonal, as you mentioned, Mark, earlier, to Christmas time. I know one of my favorites in Jamaica was always not just gungo pea soup, which is a normal soup that is made, but when it's in season, you can get the green gungo, and it makes an exceptionally delicious. And you'd use ham. So I'm sorry, Kelvin, but you know something that
you guys can eat it away, man. I'm good.
During the festive season in Haiti. Very traditional for Christmas is a jumau soup. This I have the recipe and I'm going to make as well. And this one is interesting because it has a special importance. Since 1804, on the first day of the year, all Haitians share in the infamous jumau soup made with West Indian pumpkin, beef, vegetables, spices, and noodles, a symbol of freedom and victory.
Wow, that is crazy. That it has a history to it. That's so really, man.
And I've got so that recipe. I've got the salt beef in the pizza, so that is definitely going to get sorted out.
That's amazing. That is amazing.
And the one time of year, all of you know, obviously know Jamaica rice and peas. People used to ask you why is it called rice and peas, because the one that is commonly consumed is rice with kidney beans. But traditionally at Christmas, it is made with gungo peas. So at Christmas, your rice and peas is no longer with red kidney beans, and it's made with gungo peas. And that's typical because gungo peas were seasonal. So it was one time of year that you could actually have rice and peas, and it's not technically beans. You guys talk to me more about this. Mark.
Oh, that is the favorite of the favorite, man. I mean, you can't not have Christmas without a macaroni pie.
Macaroni pie, wow. I mean, that is a big thing for us. Yes, in fact, macaroni pie is actually probably one of our Sunday foods.
Yes,
so I don't know about you in Grenada or other islands, but Sunday. Now looking back, Sunday was like carb overload because you'd have rice, you'd have macaroni pie, you'd have
the red peas,
you'd have that potato salad, and you have perhaps some sort of boiled provision as well. But macaroni pie is definitely a Christmas must have.
Yeah. And no disrespect to some, because I've seen people make macaroni pie, loads of different recipes, especially in America. And
it sounds like you're about to be disrespectful, though.
Well, I was trying. When I see the way they make the macaroni, and I'm like, "What are you doing, bro?" They just take some cheese, melt it in a pot, put bare cheeses, like different type of cheeses, and then just take the macaroni, slap it in there, and put it in the oven.
Yeah,
that's it. That's macaroni. I'm like, bro, that is not.
No, that is baked macaroni and cheese. And having lived
macaroni, you got to remember the difference between macaroni and cheese, which is the international version, and macaroni pie, which is what we consume.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I'm
actually,
it doesn't look good when they do
doing
it.
and if you read the write-up, the macaroni and cheese dates back to the late 13th century in southern Italy.
Wow.
Wow.
So
macaroni pie in Grenada is like, it's definitely a Sunday food.
Yeah.
Pie and stew meat. And
Yes, macaroni pie, stew meat, callaloo.
yeah, pumpkin, stew pumpkin, bit of salad.
Now, if you think of it, the show hasn't ended yet, right? But since we started, we have a lot of Christmas traditional stuff.
yeah, well, that's why I don't mind extending today. It's our last show, so we will finish today, right? And we will get to a very traditional Christmas dish, which is very close to Mark's heart. But actually, in reading the history of it, I was surprised to realize how extensive it was across the Caribbean and where it got its tradition from. And that is, that is pastels.
Yeah. I thought you forgot about that,
Right? And interesting it. So they originate from Latin America.
Yes,
and in Curacao, you call it ayaka.
Ayaka. There you go. You got it. Roger's well researched. Well done.
Trinidad, Puerto Rico, and the Dominican Republic are popular pastel eaters. And you have pastels called pastels en hojo, like tamales, are popular in Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. Instead of corn masa, a plantain and root batter is used as the base before it is stuffed with chicken or whatever takes your fancy. Whereas in Trinidad, you use corn meals as your base, and then you stuff it with meat, fish, or vegetables.
What do you call it in Trinidad? Because we call it kanky hair.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know, but pastel is in fact, it is a process to make because you need a press and stuff. So this year, I kind of people started making pastel pies in Trinidad, so they would bake it. But I'm gonna try something a bit different, where I'm making the filling and the cornmeal. I'm gonna put it in a dish, but in the dish, I'm gonna wrap it in the fig leaf in the dish, and then place the dish in water, in a pan of water in the oven, and cover it. So it's gonna be basically like steaming it, like
you're steaming it.
But I'm steaming it as a pie and not baking it in the same way. So to get the same effect without doing the work.
Well, I think that middle picture was a recipe I got from Puerto Rico, which was they use yuca.
Yes,
right.
It looks nice though.
Yeah, so quite interesting. And the last recipe is, I don't think it is a Christmas dish, but I had to include it because it's got a Christmas name, and it's Trinidad Christmas rice. All right. And it's named Christmas rice because of the various colors.
Yeah.
Well, also I think you'd find that, I don't know, it may be called Christmas rice as well, because the apples in particular, apples in Trinidadian culture would only turn up in Trinidad at Christmas time. You'd get red and green apples. Like, I didn't know of the variants of apples. Like I'm sure that other people from here don't know the varieties of mangoes until you live in the country where they are from. So I only saw they had red and green apples, but apples were a Christmas thing. So I don't know if that.
And you forgot one last one, which is also very famous, Roger. Which
please, I'll stand corrected.
Which is the pepper pot, Guyanese pepper pot.
Yes.
I love pepper pot.
Of course, and I actually, in fact, that is a mistake. And in fact, haven't we? Let me see if I remember rightly, because didn't I have?
I think you did. We did have a show that we included pepper pot, but I don't know if it's the same kind of recipes for the Christmas, because there's a Christmas style recipe that they make. It's obviously it has meat, it has pork in it as well. It's made with a gasseripe.
There you go.
You got it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cassareep.
Yes, cassareep, meats, pork, etc. So that's another traditional one that
Yes, my apologies to my Guyanese friends. Ruben, you should have picked me up on that. How dare you? That is something that you should have picked me up on. And just before we finish, we're going to talk a little bit about partying in the Caribbean, because there's no point if you come to the Caribbean, you're going to eat all of that, you're going to drink a lot. So you got to exercise, which means you got to go out and have some fun. And just a selection of parties that I discovered in the Caribbean. So in St. Croix, they have the Crucian Christmas Festival. And it is held on the first Friday and Saturday of the new year. And the opening night is in late December. And I was surprised how many street parades existed in the Caribbean during the Christmas time. Because you always think of street parades and festivals. But as you mentioned, parang is almost very much a similar thing. But you almost think of that as a carnival thing only. But, you know, us Caribbean people, we party any time of the year, don't we?
Well, Keegan says not during COVID. But Keegan doesn't know what Caribbean people are like.
Oh, they'll be out. Trust me.
My dear.
You think you have no idea. Don't yeah. We don't idea. Party life in the Caribbean.
And we know how to party. If I was back home on New Year's, interesting enough, a lot of people, I don't know if this is a very much Caribbean thing, but we don't call New Year's Eve party New Year's Eve party. It's called Old Year's, right? Because it's a celebration of the old year. The new year doesn't start until the 1st, right? So New Year is not mentioned until the 1st. In Jamaica, if I was in Jamaica, I'd be going to Frenchman. It starts on New Year's Day at 5 p.m. It is they actually run 3 parties every year, typical of Jamaica. These parties are all-inclusive parties, so you drink and eat as much as you like. You will pay a fair bit of money for your ticket, so it'll be well over 100 US. It's probably running at 150, 160 US for your ticket. But you'll eat and drink, and you'll have lobster, you'll have premium spirits, and you'll have a lot to drink, and you'll party.
So in the parties, those kind of girls will be in the parties?
And better. And better.
So you're going to reach, Kelvin,
right? And better.
Reach.
And some of these parties, like Frenchman, are, even though the ticket is 150, 160 US, they are invitation only.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay. Well.
We have them here too. We have the all-inclusive parties. They're about $500. So yeah.
And you really, technically, the idea is that you need to know somebody to be able to buy a ticket, unless you're known. Right?
Okay.
So
we'll be known when we go there, mate. Don't worry.
And the idea is to keep out the riffraff. Grand Cayman on the beach, party kicks off at 6 p.m. They have 2 celebrations. They have fireworks in the early evening for the kids, and then once the kids are put to bed, you come back out and have a second firework display at midnight for the adults on the 7 Mile beach. And then if you've still got energy left, you go down to the Westin or in Grand Cayman, and they have a beach party with bubbly. So something to do in the Grand Cayman. Yost Van Dyke. What's Yost Van Dyke famous for? Come on, somebody tell me.
Rumbar.
No? Yeah, a rumbar. Which one?
I don't know it.
I definitely don't know it. So
well, if I tell you the name of the drink, what do you want to know? The name of the drink or the name of the bar? Which one?
Soggy Dollar.
Painkiller.
The Painkiller and the Soggy Dollar bar.
Yes.
There's another bar on the island called Fox's, and they have a very legendary Old Year's Eve party.
Fox's was put on the New York Times best 10 places to do New Year's Eve in the world.
And this is on the list, isn't it?
Yeah, it is on the list.
Yeah. And apparently,
sadly, when I was living there, I would go home to Trinidad. I was never there for New Year's, but I've heard some some stories. I mean, they've had like Mick Jagger perform at that and all kind of things. It's huge. It's huge. It's huge.
Yeah.
It's enormous.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, and I've always wanted to go to Soggy Dollar, so I'm thinking maybe I should go for New Year's, and that's the plan. The famous John Canoe.
It's amazing, the John Canoe. It's so good.
And it's not just Bahamas, though, isn't it?
No, I've only seen John Canoe on Bahamas.
Okay.
And they come out with the graters, and the music is just so wonderful. They use old tools and little like shacks and graters, and it's all in harmony. And they've got like feathery kind of outfits. It's very nice.
Right. Okay. And one of my favorite parties when I'm back home in Jamaica is the Maiden Key Christmas party.
Yeah. Why is it your favorite party, Roger?
Oh God, Maiden Key is just so good, man. It's the music, the vibe, the ambience, and I am
the bikini.
And the bikinis.
And the bikinis, yes. I am privileged enough that every year I go, and every time I go to Maiden Key, one of those yachts you see in the background belongs to a friend of mine. So I always get invited out to spend a party on his yacht, so that you don't have to. The canoes at the front is a public transport. So those canoes are the taxis. It's a 20-minute ride from the mainland. It's Maiden Key is a sandbank sitting in the ocean, right? It's in the middle of the ocean, 20 minutes off the shore of Port Royal. And so basically one of those yachts will reel out a power line to where you see that tent in order for a DJ to set up. And that party rocks. It's always middle between Christmas and New Year's. And that party absolutely rocks every year till sunset. And you go early. So when you go Maiden Key, the boat is leaving from all 9, 10 in the morning. So make sure you get up, right? Make sure you get up. And you just get up. And even if you turn up hungover, you can pass out on the boat, right? Until you wake up. But as soon as you reach, you'll wake up because those bikinis will wake up any man. Santo Domingo on the Malecon beach, and they parted the night away. Apparently exceptional. I've never been to Dominican Republic, but it's probably the most popularly tourist visited island in the Caribbean, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it is very much so.
Right. So I can imagine the entertainment, and they do a live concert every night. So that must be amazing. I didn't know St. Kitts has a national carnival on Boxing Day.
Oh, really?
I did not know that at all. Another street festival. So obviously you can imagine how drunk they must be after Christmas, but also a good way to work off all that food. And then St. Martin, and they have a great beach New Year's Eve, Old Year's night in St. Martin. So
that's just getting me homesick, man. Straight.
And do you think? Hold on. You think when I did the research, I didn't get homesick as well?
I mean, all I'm seeing is beach, party, rum, bikini. That's all I need in my life.
A man is just a man, isn't he?
Hey, you can watch, but you can't touch. That's all. You watch. It's vitamins for the eyes.
Man is just a man. I don't know.
Oh boy!
I'm getting all excited about ham and cocoa tea.
Me is the beach rum.
What you need?
Is beach rum bikini.
Let's just advise people who haven't appreciated it. I know I know we've only shown you one on the show today in person, but Caribbean women are probably some of the most beautiful women in the world, right? So, and when the rum take you, right? When the rum take you, right? Oh my goodness.
Yo, they're so good. They even made a parang song that Santa is looking for a wife in the Caribbean.
Yes.
Exactly. If you don't know Santa is looking for a wife, Santa is looking for a wife.
Honestly, these songs are on loop. When you get, there was a lady, she said, she put up on Facebook, Santa still ain't find a wife yet. Yeah, he's looking for a wife in the Caribbean.
I said to somebody that I remember when as a young man, when I first started to go into Christmas parties and parties in general in Jamaica, and I thought I just walked into a Miss World competition, right? Every single woman was outstanding. I said they could win any Miss World competition. I was just blown completely away, and that is the norm of the Caribbean. It's just unbelievable. And as I said, the vibe, the festivity, when you've got all of that included, you got the rum, you got great food, so it all marries together for that Christmas spirit. Because
without say how good looking the men are as well. The men
I'm not going to comment on that.
Well, we'll leave that for you, Lisette.
Oh, the men in the Caribbean.
For all the viewers who are ladies,
all the six packs everywhere.
There you go. Hold on. You have to be honest. Some of them have the belly bung though. Some of them have the belly bung. They drink and bear too much.
And don't you find though that I always find it amazing that the guys, when you go to the Caribbean and you meet the poorest of guys who have no money, right? Who can't afford to buy anything, come from country, and when they take off their shirt, you just cringe in shame. Rippled, six-pack, muscles everywhere, and this man don't have a bean. He's never been to gym in his life, right? And you're going gym religiously just to try and get a quarter of what he looked like.
Right? Zero body fat. They
zero
food. That is what is going on. Yeah.
Zero body fat.
Good food and good living. That's it.
Good living and natural living, and it's all part of the whole mixture. And then obviously you have the sun, you have the alcohol, you have your welfare.
The vitamin C from the sea. I mean, the sea is I mean, people what they call bathe regularly at this time, because on Boxing Day in the Caribbean, we go to the beach. Everybody goes to the beach and cook up on Boxing Day. And they have like barbecue and cook pot on the beach, and everybody's sharing food. You go to any beach, there's just so much people, and everybody, oh, you want some of my bear? You want some of my, what you got in that pot? And everybody's sharing. Boxing Day is one of my favorites.
And we are sharing culture. That's the one thing. I mean, and especially at Christmas time. I mean, I know the world has changed, but especially at Christmas. I mean, Christmas, I'd have dinner at home at Christmas, and then in the evening, you go and see your friends, and you might stop at 3 different houses, and each house you stop at, you'll get another dinner, right?
But to be fair, Roger, that is probably to ensure that you're not too drunk, because the amount of alcohol you're normally drinking anyway, you need the food, right?
Correct.
You have to eat.
But they just they're feeling salty if you say, I can't eat anymore. So you just end up with another dinner, and another dinner. So you are full. And the other thing is, food at every house tastes good, right? And invariably, they've cooked something maybe slightly different or something extra on their recipe, right? So somebody, they may have some ackee saltfish left from breakfast, or you may have, as you said, somebody's cooked some pastels, and you might just think, just give me a couple of those, or somebody macaroni pie, and you just think, just put some of the gravy on it, right? And I just want to say that as well. One thing we didn't mention in the talk at Christmas is, yes, we also eat turkey, right? We do cook turkey in the Caribbean. I just thought that was a standard for everybody. So the only thing I can probably comment in the Caribbean is that, in my experience, is most Caribbean families find turkey too dry. So they'd rather invest in a large chicken than they would in investing in a turkey. But we do eat. I know my mother would definitely like to cook a turkey, and she would always say to me, I says, Mom, people say turkey too dry, and she says, that's because they can't cook.
I was about to say that.
Yeah.
You don't know how to cook a turkey, that's your problem.
That's because I can't cook. My turkey never dry.
Yeah, I got a message from Sheldon saying, going house to house for food and drink is called paranging in Trinidad. But I think most of us know that. Thank you very much, Sheldon, for that.
Sheldon, that meant you joined late because we started off with parang. So we discussed parang in Trinidad and Grenada when we started. So I reckon you've joined us a little late, but thank you very much, Sheldon. But yeah, but I miss Christmas in Canada. Jamaica flights are packed solid every year. If you want to go to Jamaica, right, even with COVID, right, my business partner left to Jamaica last week, right, and her flight was packed solid, right. So COVID is irrelevant. If you want to go to Jamaica for Christmas, you need to book a year in advance. And the fares go through the roof because they know that everybody wants to go. But you won't get direct flights unless you book a year in advance. It's that the Caribbean is that popular. And I know, and that's just Jamaica, everybody. And that, don't forget, on those flights as well will be your tourists as well who want to get away and go and spend the festive season in the Caribbean as well. And it is full of tourists as well. So that's something that... get yourself to the Caribbean. I know a lot of these parties we've shown you are full of people, which obviously we can't condone that in this current climate. But hopefully one day soon we'll get back to normal. We can go to one of those parties and rub up on the bikinis, as Kelvin would say.
No, don't keep bringing me in there.
That's you, Kelvin. We're putting that on you now.
Nah, don't put it on me, please. Okay.
Unless
viewers might think different of me. I'm very professional.
Kelvin, you get a break.
Wow.
Well, if you don't, Kelvin, I will be.
Yes, I'll be professional the whole time. And I'll be speaking to professionalism.
And I will definitely look forward to spending the Caribbean where we can all go to the Caribbean and enjoy, whether it be a parang, whether it be a Frenchman, or whether we're in Santo Domingo in Dominican Republic or Junkanoo or anywhere where we can enjoy the festivities of the Caribbean. So
right. So I think what we'll do, right? We will leave. I think it's good to leave people with this. Yeah, for now. Right? Let's leave people with this for now. Right? So thank you for joining us. Thanks for being with us the whole year. We started this. Thanks for our loyal followers. Right? And have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Oh boy, I can see you started. I can see you started already.
We're ready. Santa's looking for a wife. Right.
All right, and just to let you guys know that in 2 weeks' time is the 3rd of January, so we will not be having a Caribbean Rum Chronicles. We're going to give you a little break because we want to break as well. And then we'll announce, obviously, thereafter when the next show is and what the subject matter will be. So we're going to give you a good little Christmas break. And I think everybody here, thank you very much to my co-hosts. We've all deserved a break to try and enjoy what we can of our Christmas. Us in London, I don't know if you guys realize, it's looking very bleak in terms of what our Christmas will be. But we'll find a way. We have rum. We'll find a way to make some sort of festivity for Christmas. But we hope wherever you are, you have a safe, free from COVID, and keep health. Whatever's going on in the world, whatever your views are about what's happening in the world. Unfortunately, the world is what it is at the moment, and at some point we'll get through the other side, and hopefully 2021 will be a better year. sadly, it doesn't look like the beginning of it will be. But at some point, let's hope that things get better and that we can get some sort of normality, and we can all meet, next year in the Caribbean. Let's hope that's going to be.
Let's pray.
We're all fine by then. You would have Brexited. COVID will be free. And the world will be a normal place.
And maybe, well, when we Brexit, we might be broke.
But it's all good. It's all good. It's all good.
Take care, guys. Merry Christmas.
Bye now.
Merry Christmas.
Bye.
Oh.